It's from the
We do
draft
a
that we sent
controlled
you.
burn.
Right, yeah.
How about an uncontrolled burn? So, but since you're gonna be a neighbor to this project, what do you think about all that? It's different to see something that contemporary on the road with all the other, that's not, because it'd be the only thing.
I was just waiting on Verizon, or
They're,
the Charter.
gotcha. I'm actually, my wife's already like, you think we could sell our house and then buy a house in that neighborhood?
You should rent your house and buy a house.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'd Airbnb it.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. We're going to call the meeting of the Planning Commission for this date to order. I will now call for a roll call of members present, starting on my far right.
Tony Rackley?
Evan Cantrell?
Michelle Garrison. Rebecca Cooper.
Diane Maxwell.
Thank you all. First item of business is we're going to review and approve the minutes from our last scheduled meeting from April 25th, and we had those meetings emailed to us last week. Do I hear a motion to approve these minutes as presented?
A motion to approve?
Second. Is there any discussion? All right, seconded by Michelle. Hearing no discussion, I would like to call for the vote. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. And our item number 2 of new business is the TR 23-03 final development plan for the Refuge subdivision. And we have that on our screens here. Item 2A is a review of the final development plan for the Refuge subdivision on North Main Street. And Mike Foreman will provide the commission with an overview of the request as well as next steps.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just getting it up on the screen here for you. Okay, so what you have before you is, as you mentioned, a final development plan review. This is for a community that will be known as the Refuge. This has been before Planning Commission and City Council now three times for 3 meetings, twice for City Council to approve the initial rezoning to flexible review district, and then it was back before Planning Commission for the subdivision approval a few months ago. This is the next step in the process. This essentially locks down some additional details of the plan before they can move forward with their next steps being the land disturbance permit through Greenville County land disturbance. So just real quick, the applicant is requesting approval of a final development plan for this 9.41 acre subdivision located at located on North Main Street. In accordance with the Refuge Preliminary Development Plan and Statement of Intent as approved by City Council via Ordinance O-10-22. Just a quick background, the City of Travelers Rest zoning ordinance states that no building permit or certificate of occupancy shall be issued in a flexible review district until the Planning Commission, acting on the recommendation of the Planning Commission staff, has approved and there is recorded a final development plan meeting the requirements of Section 515.7 of the Travelers Rest zoning ordinance. So the review criteria are stated in Section 515.7 of the Travelers Rest zoning ordinance. That's all in your packet. Those include everything that you basically see on the screen as well. Staff has verified that they have completed all of the requirements as per 515.7. With the exception of one, that being the drainage plan review and approval by the city engineer. That typically comes a little bit later in the process, so we'll make that a condition of approval tonight, or you have the opportunity to make that a condition of approval tonight, that be approved with certain conditions, and I'll go over those conditions here in a moment. So as I mentioned, they meet all the other requirements as specified. So to conclude, again, the Planning Commission, acting upon the recommendation of the planning staff, may approve or disapprove this final development plan submitted by the applicant. In reviewing this final development plan, the Planning Commission may require any such design modifications as necessary to assure compliance with the approved preliminary development plan, what I'd mentioned from last year. In the event that the Planning Commission finds that this final development plan is not in accordance with the approved preliminary development plan, it shall disapprove this final development plan. If approved by the Planning Commission, it would then be the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that this FDP and statement of intent are recorded properly with the Greenville County Register of Deeds. So that would be their literal next step if approved. I would stamp it and it would go, they would have to get that recorded by the Register of Deeds at the county level. So based on these findings, staff recommends approval of the final development plan you have before you with 4 conditions. The first condition is that the project must complete the entrance and street connections to both Glenview Park Circle and US Highway 276 prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy for any of the buildings on site. The second is the project must meet all City of Travelers Rest zoning ordinance section 619 standards, which are the subdivision and infrastructure standards. The third condition is that, as I mentioned earlier, the FDP approval is contingent on the drainage plan review and approval by the city engineer. And then fourth, all signage must be reviewed and permitted separately before installation. And that concludes my staff report.
Do any members of the commission, by the way, we have, Mr. Mahaffey's joined us, so we'll make note of that. Do any of the commissioners have any additional questions for Mr. Foreman?
I do. The sidewalk, they're having to demolish it along Highway 276?
ma'am.
And was there any room for any buffer? Does the sidewalk go all the way to the highway?
They will be actually improving that sidewalk and repaving it. So they'll take out the existing one and move it off the road a little bit to provide a little bit more safety. So there will be a buffer between the new sidewalk and 276.
While that's going on, will there be just a step across the street to the Swamp Rabbit to avoid the demolishing of the sidewalk there?
Yes, ma'am. We'll try to we'll schedule that in such a way that it will provide a minimal impact for the existing residents.
Will any other sidewalk in that area be demolished?
So the discussions to this point, and this has not been finalized yet with the city, but the idea, the hope is that there's some funding available to continue that sidewalk south. You see the property, a touch of housing, so continue that sidewalk improvement all the way down
The high school?
to the high school. That's right, and then that way you'd have a direct connection to not only to the Swamp Rabbit, but to the new connection that's coming in that would lead you out to the YMCA.
And when is that supposed to be done?
That's still in the planning phase, so we hope to get that done by the end of the year, but there's no guarantees there.
Any other questions?
The side question, I think, overhead lines, those are buried? Any overhead lines? There are no overhead lines, are there?
There are, and I believe they're actually replacing a few of those, or have been replacing a few of those over the last few months, or at least the last few weeks, 2 months. But I don't know for certain if there are any underground lines. I don't think there are, though.
Anything else? All right, at this time, with no more questions, do I hear a motion to approve this FDP with the conditions as presented in our report?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Motion by Diane Maxwell, second by Brian Mahaffey. Any other discussion? All right, at this time, I have a motion by Commissioner Maxwell and a second by Commissioner Mahaffey. All in favor of approving the FDP with the conditions. All in favor of approving this motion, please indicate by raising your right hand. And I'll oppose, like sign. All right, thank you. Do we have any other business to discuss?
Real quick, today, the U.S. Census Bureau finally released some information or most of their information regarding the 2020 census. So I'll be able to start putting that together. That's the reason you don't have anything before you yet. in regards to the comprehensive plan review. So that, now I have the data, I can start moving forward with the review. So you'll be seeing that here starting next month, more than likely.
Do we have any updated timeline on the diagonal crossing at Center Street and Main Street?
Yes, yes and no. That went out to bid and did not receive any bids because it's such a relatively small project. So we're going to lump that in together with the North Poinsett project to hopefully attract a bidder this next time around. But the North Poinsett project is still in permitting at this point. So when that's ready to go, we'll be able to get everything out at once.
Have any anticipated timeline on intersection improvement at Tubbs Mountain and Poinsett?
I don't, but I can find out and let you know.
That's part of the North Poinsett
That would be part of
project.
the North Poinsett, and there's also a parking lot that would be associated with that.
Based on what Eric was saying, that meeting we had with the county, well, actually, it was all of planning commissions all throughout South Carolina here that day. He was like, seemed like the funding was in place for that. Is that correct or incorrect?
Yes, the funding for the North Poinsett is in place. Yes, sir.
That's the parking lot on the corner.
Yes, that will include the parking lot on the corner, on the southwest corner.
Are we still slated for a traffic light at that intersection of Tubbs Mountain and Poinsett?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
So is it going to be delayed, the diagonal crosswalk, because of that?
Yeah, we're aligning the two projects' timelines together. We were hoping to have that diagonal done by now, but because we didn't get any bids, we're going to have to lump them together. So it is unfortunately, will be necessary delayed until we can get the Poinsett project
And when do
bid out.
bids go out for that?
That should be here, coming up soon. It's in permitting right now. The DOT is still working through some issues with some property owners. So yeah, I would like to say it's happening soon, but I can't guarantee that.
Else? All right, hearing no more discussion, I'd like to call for a vote to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you all. Thank you all for attending.
Well, as far as those houses in
You got it from Candy?
I did, and you know what? She had one blue one, so when I sent her